Hi guys, welcome. I'm here with Lidy Seysener and want to thank you all for coming along to our Q&A webinar tonight. I'm very happy to have you here, Lidy.
Thank you, and hi to everyone as well.
All right, so we're just going to get started. Before we go through anything, we just wanted to do a bit of quick introductions, just so you know who we both are. My name's Frank, and you might have heard my story if you've gone on one of my webinars before. But long story short, I've been coaching since I was in about 2010. And the reason I wanted to do all this stuff was basically because relationships make you do some pretty crazy stuff, Lidy. And I honestly just wanted to know why. But yeah, so I've been doing this for about 5 years, a little over 5 years. But you've been doing it for so much longer. You've been doing it for 27 years, which is longer than I've been alive.
Oh, probably longer than most people have been alive. And I guess my motivation comes from a somewhat different place in terms of having been around a few years, having been through a couple of relationships, having gone through a divorce as well, and having raised 4 kids who are now all in relationships of their own. I experienced some pretty tough times as I was going through my young life and making a decision to separate from my then husband. So my little mission, I guess, it's not a little mission, it's a big mission. My big mission right now is to do whatever I can to help people stave off divorce in their own relationships. So for me, it's about education and just doing this sort of stuff. This is great fun.
Yeah, it's really awesome to get to be able to talk to people and help them out every single day, isn't it?
And have a conversation with each other as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, so I think it's really, really cool that we've obviously got the chance to work together, and very much because our message is obviously very similar.
Yeah.
It's not this idea that it's all how should I say it's all outside of us or anything like that, or we influence others, and that's actually what changes our lives. It's very much about owning the fact and coming from a place of cool. It's about relationship with self before anything else.
Absolutely, and I come from that perspective too. In when I'm putting my seminars and workshops together, that you've got to know yourself first, and you've got to be comfortable with yourself first. Yeah. Because until you've sorted that out, then whoa, what have we got here? We've got
a bit of echo.
Got an echo going on. There we go. I got rid of it. So yeah, it really is about knowing each other, or knowing yourself first, because until you know yourself first and are comfortable with yourself, then you can't know the other. You can't really know what it's like to be in a relationship. So first focus is absolutely on self.
Yeah, there's so much, and it has to be one of the root causes of so many issues that we come across is that we so often look towards others to actually fulfill that hole in ourselves. We want to be in that relationship. That's a way that we measure it, but we want to be in that relationship so then we can actually feel good about ourselves. But in actual fact, when we do that, it's not actually knowing ourselves at all. It's actually trying to look to others. We're actually just numbing the pain and controlling it in one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a lesson that I had to learn too. I was married very young, and I believed I'd met my knight in shining armour. He was going to come and rescue me and take care of me and be everything I needed him to be forever after. I learned that lesson. It wasn't going to be that way. I really needed to find myself and discover who I could be.
Yeah, and obviously your relationship has come tenfold since then with your current husband.
Well, we've been together nearly 30 years as well. So we've had our ups and downs, but we've actually both come to a very nice place within ourselves.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think that opens the way for us to be in a nice place with each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very reassuring to know that I've certainly met my soulmate, and it really is till death us do part, and that's a very, very nice feeling.
Very cool. And it's, it obviously came from that time when you finally were able to respect each other to actually go apart, go on your own paths, but also create a life between you as well. It wasn't just, they're your entire life. They're a part of your life, but that said, it's obviously a huge part of your life.
Huge part of my life. And I think the thing is, people talk about how tough relationships are and how you've got to work for relationships to be successful. From my perspective, it's like once you've actually figured out what it is that you are and what you represent, and that you live that absolutely, then relationships are actually a piece of cake.
Yeah.
You don't have to work anymore. It's because it's just simply who you are.
And that's who they are.
Absolutely. And it's not separated from, what it is that often we pretend to be when we first meet somebody and want to have a relationship with them. And of course, the closer the reality is from, what it is that we are putting forward in the first instances of relationship, as we do, we present our best selves first.
Yeah.
But the closer those two are to each other, the quicker you actually get through, what I would call the crap, and you find your relationship.
Yeah, it's getting rid of those games and everything like that. And couldn't said it better myself. It's that as soon as you do figure that out, it's, there isn't that work. It's just, yeah, cool, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. And that in itself is the most attractive thing you can see in someone, and it obviously, that explains why, you so often get that dynamic of, one person wants a relationship, but, the other person doesn't. It's because they're so happy within themselves at the same time. But once that person realizes that, they can be themselves and they can also enjoy the life of another as well,
yes,
amazing things happen.
Oh, I'm so with you. I just find, there might be a whole lifetime between you and me, but you're really on the ball here. You really understand what relationships are about. And I sort of feel like I've just spent 60 years of my life learning this, and you've got it. You've really got it. And it's just so nice to be here and doing this.
Thank you. Well, let's just remember that I did learn it from people like you. So
it's all good. It's all good.
All right. So how this is going to work? We're going to run until about 8 o'clock. I was about to say 9 o'clock, but 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
And we're going to be answering questions. So we'll start in about 5 minutes. Just want to cover a couple of things and how to actually submit a question first. And then about 5-10 minutes beforehand, we'll stop. So then we can talk to you about what's upcoming and everything like that. Me and Lidy have got some awesome stuff in the works that we want to share with you. So I guess before we do hop into the first questions, we just want to have a quick discussion about, what you need to bring in order to actually get the most from this webinar. Very, very first thing would be obviously a commitment to self. You got to take that time for yourself. You got to be willing to actually be here. And, for obviously all you guys that have actually shown up, you've done that first step.
It's about being there, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is really about, owning that and taking that responsibility for that change, which is exactly what me and Lidy were just talking about. It really comes back to that relationship with self. Second thing is you need to be willing to face those challenges head on. If you have come here with a challenge or a relationship question, then, type it into the question box and actually face that question and face that issue for yourselves. So then you actually can solve for yourself.
We've got a whole stack of questions here to work through. So we're going to be working real hard for the next hour or so.
Yeah. And that said, we may not get through all of them. We are going to give each of the questions their due time. So we're going to make sure that we do quality over quantity. All of them done, but any that we do miss, myself or Lidy will address them in say articles for you, or we'll make sure that they get answered in some way or another for you.
Absolutely.
And these questions, again, they're not individual. It's they're going to crisscross. One question will be related to others. I'm sure there's going to be common themes here as well, just the way it tends to work. So yeah, keep an eye out, and as we do go along, any questions you think of, any comments or insights, we all have a different perspective on things. Comment down in the box. Just use that ask box as a chat box, and let us know where you're at as we go along. That'd be absolutely awesome. Me and Lidy are having an awesome time here, so we do want you in the conversation as well.
And we are flying off the cuff here,
Yeah.
so I'm expecting it as well, that even the questions that we might address, because some of these questions that are already coming through are just brilliant. I'm seeing them as being really great diving boards for articles and blogs as well. So even though we're going to try and answer what we can here, I think for me personally, I'm going to take that as a challenge for me to actually readdress a lot of these too, and formulate
or another webinar.
Or another webinar. That would be excellent.
All right. So as Lidy said, we are flying by the seat of our pants here. So we are leaning into the unfamiliar. So let's bring it on. before we do anything, I just want to run through how to actually submit a question. So all you need to do is underneath this video on the Relationships Reveal page is scroll right down to the bottom, and you'll see a box that says ask a question with a big orange button. Just type it in and submit your question, and you can submit as many as you like throughout the evening. And just make sure you do send them each through individually, so it makes it easier for me and Lidy.
And use the same box as well for a comment or a response to what we might be saying, or indeed your own thought about what we might be saying.
Exactly. And yeah, so when you do it, make sure to include some details so we do know a bigger picture, and include the impact it's having on you in your relationship so that we can address where it actually does matter for you as well. And if you do want to include your name, please feel free, but and if you do, we'll obviously speak out your first name and thank you, but if you don't, then you're more than welcome to remain anonymous. So yeah, just use that. Obviously, first come in, first served. We will be going from the top down and seeing where we land.
Yep.
But you know, Lidy had an awesome idea, and that was to each ask ourselves one of the questions on the list. You know, just to take it in turns and just to pick from there, just to start us off. So, Lidy, do you want to ask me first, or should I ask you first?
I'm happy to ask you first.
That's brilliant.
Let me start with this one. It says, I can't seem to act myself in front of the person that I like. I care too much about his feelings, and I am always seeking to please him. How should I solve this problem?
Off the bat, I say assess, don't impress.
I like it.
And that was actually something I learned from Simon Cowell, of all people, actually. The idea that, you know, every single one of us, we constantly come to this place, you know, and thinking that we have nothing to offer in the relationship. So, you know, we act certain ways, trying to, you know, get around that person and trying to impress this person, you know, to do as much as we can. But in fact, in doing so, we actually devalue ourselves so much. And remember that this is a two-way street. You know, as much as you're assessing them and not impressing them, they can also do the exact same to you. So it's not a one-way thing, or it's not, you know, rude or anything like that. It is just valuing your own time. When you do that, other people are going to be able to see that as well, and it will shine through. When you do have that love of who you are and you're really happy inside your own skin, that really does shine through, rather than coming across as, you know, desperate and needy, which is, you know, such a major turnoff.
And I think that sort of lends to what I was talking about before. When we are totally okay with ourselves and accepting of ourselves, you know, the good things and the bad things, then we don't need to impress. We will just simply be who we are, and whoever it is that we care so much about will recognise that and model that with us, and hopefully we both end up in a happy ever after place.
Yeah, and I think that's a funny thing as well. You tend to find people at the same level as you, obviously. You know, you meet people where you're at, and yeah, it's such an amazing thing as well, because you know, you can see people do that. And the funny thing is, if you're trying to impress someone, you're going to actually attract a person who's a complete complement of that, and often will actually allow you to impress them. And you know, so you sort of get this, you know, settler and reacher dynamic where, you know, one of you really wants a relationship, but the other person doesn't really care about it, so to speak. And that, you know, just drives everyone crazy, to be honest with you. So when you reach it to the level where, you know, you're happy within yourself, you're respectfully selfish, is one way to say it. You also meet others that are doing the exact same thing. And, you know, just like Lidy said, you know, it's such a core idea. We keep on coming back to that, and it's so easy to be in a relationship because you're just yourselves.
And it's sort of, this little question also lends itself to that notion of the cup half full, half empty. If our cup isn't full the whole time, then there's nothing to empty onto another person. There's nothing to give to the other person. If we continually try to please somebody else, we're going to end up drying out, and we won't have anything left for ourselves. And
it's such that huge idea of, you know, challenges and all this stuff is just going to be just a natural part of life, you know. So, you know, we often think in order to actually fill that hole up and, you know, to fill the void, we have to look outside of us, you know, whether that be a relationship or whether that be another external goal or something like that. But, you know, thinking that way and actually, you know, feeling like we actually are lacking is, you know, kind of the whole freaking point. You know, that's the very thing. So, more than anything is to be happy with yourself. So how you can solve this problem is to learn to be happy with yourself in that sense, even though things are not perfect, and they never will be. Surprise, surprise, things aren't perfect for me, Lidy. I hate to admit it. I am actually human at the end of the day.
Oh, no, Frank, really?
It's true. It's true. Don't tell anyone.
But you're perfect in my eyes.
Thank you. And you and mine. And it is exactly that. We are imperfectly perfect, each and every single one of us. And, things are never going to be spotless, or whatever you want to really call it. Life would be really kind of boring if everything was spotless and all worked so squeaky clean all the time, wouldn't it? So, that is all going to be the case. But even though that is not the case, if that is the case, don't let that, hold you back. Don't let that actually, stop you from loving yourself or stop you from getting out there. It is not a requirement for everything to be perfect before you can love yourself or feel confident.
Totally. I'm with you on that one. Great answer.
Great question. All right, my turn.
Your turn.
Let's go with how can you rebuild trust, Lidy?
This one's actually an interesting one, because last week I actually did a little gig on Northern Beaches Radio, and the topic for that session was on trust. It came about because the woman, and I'll give you her name, Karen Chaston, who runs a program on Northern Beaches Radio on Wednesday afternoon, asked me just out of the blue one time. We were actually at a seminar together, and she said, "What do you think, Lidy, is the most important thing in relationship?" And I don't know what she was expecting, but the thing that immediately came from my mouth was trust. And it was like, trust before love, trust before respect, trust before passion, trust before sex. And for me, it really is about trust, because I think that unless there's actually trust in a relationship, and trust here I think goes two ways. It's trust of me in myself first, and that sort of comes back to what we were talking about before about being okay with me in all my imperfection. But it's about trust in me first, that I can choose a person who is right for me, trust in myself that I am good enough to be for somebody else, as well as trust for the other person. Because I think when we talk about trust, we sort of talk about my trust of somebody else, but it's got to go both ways. So firstly, it's my trust of me, and then it's my trust of the other person.
Yeah, and it's so freaking amazing that you're saying it. I couldn't really say it better myself, to be honest with you. It's really from this place that, it is and then on, all those emotions that you were saying beforehand, trust before love, trust before respect. If you have that trust, they sort of follow. It's sort of, part of a package deal as well. So, it is one of those things that as soon as you do have that, as soon as you're actually willing to actually do that and actually stand up for, what's your own right and who you are as well, and actually go for that. And I think, it's also about choosing that as well. It's not trust isn't something you can force by any means. It is something you need to actually make that choice to actually do. And that's such a huge thing. And trust also in that respect, ties back in with, choosing your own path, recognizing that, cool, this is my life and this is your life, and we're each doing our own thing. And, but we've also created that life between us. And that's a choice that needs to be happening. It can't just, happen, because, then you end up in the idea of, trying to impress everyone or something along those lines. It really has to be that choice. It is first and foremost something that, we choose, and it has to begin within. As you said, it has to begin with that trust of self and then extend outside.
So the question was really about rebuilding trust. So I'm gathering from that question that something has happened that has taken trust away from one or both parties, maybe. Interestingly, I had a couple come in just the other day, and there was a real huge issue around trust. There'd been an affair, and someone had found out, and there was all sorts of questions then about what happened and why did it happen, and how do we rebuild that trust again with each other. And I'm saying again with each other for very purposeful reasons, because while in this relationship there was an affair, it came about and I see it very much as a symptom of something that's not right in the relationship anyway. So, and of course, once we started to have that conversation, it certainly came about that the person who chose to have the affair, and not exonerating that person in any way, but the person who chose to have an affair wasn't happy in their relationship, and it was, you know, a responsibility the other party had to take too for what came about as a consequence of what was not right in their relationship in the first place. So for them, there is now, you know, a big challenge to rebuild trust, and they had an option, as anybody else, where anybody does, where trust has been lost, or trust has been, lost the word for it, but where trust no longer is, that the challenge for both parties in that couple is to rediscover themselves, rediscover each other, take responsibility for their part in that, and start to be honest with each other. It's in that honesty then with themselves and with each other that allows them trust to rebuild. It can take time. When trust has been destroyed like that in a relationship, it can take time. And often I say to people, you know, especially people who are saying, I think, you know, it's forget it, it's all too tough and I'm walking out. Sometimes that's when you actually need to stay, because you need to re-establish that trust with yourself as well as that trust of somebody else, even if at the end of the day you decide that this relationship can no longer be sustainable between you. Sometimes you still need to just stay there, because when something like that has happened and you've lost that trust of another human being, or indeed the trust of yourself because you chose this person to be in a relationship with, sometimes you really just got to sit there for a little while and rebuild your own trust in yourself, your trust in each other, through your honesty, through being really open and clear with each other. Trust can rebuild. And, you know, whatever I can do to help people build that through their communications and through slowly, as in their own time, stepping forward again, opening themselves again, creating a safe place for this relationship maybe to actually get another opportunity. Trust can be rebuilt. Yeah,
awesome. You've touched on such a huge point there in the idea that, you know, when we think about rebuilding trust, or, you know, the idea that we need to rebuild trust, it normally does come from that betrayal. You know, by the way, you know, we do have a couple of other questions around cheating and whether or not it's okay and everything like that. It again comes back to trust. If that's something that you've you know, identified in your relationship with your partner, and you have an open relationship, as someone call it that, or, you know, something along those lines, that's part inside the trust and everything like that. So it is such a huge area. But, you know, the point I want to make is that, and you touched on this beautifully, is the idea that, you know, we think, you know, when this has happened, it's been a betrayal of some time, you know, we can't actually do it. But that in itself, you know, in placing it as a betrayal, quote unquote, it's literally externalizing the whole thing. It is completely putting it outside of ourselves. And that's actually what's caused it. You know, the fact that, you know, we don't actually believe we have a choice in the matter. It wasn't us. It happened to us. It didn't happen by us. And, you know, first and foremost, before anything else, that needs to be regained. Because if we believe that, yeah, cool, this is where I am and everything like that, this is, you know, the choice that I've made, perfect place to start rebuilding trust, because then again, it's something that's starting from within and pushing outwards, and then it, you know, bursts from within rather than, you know, something that's forced upon us. You know, we're sort of, how should I put it, you know, we're each a star in our own right, and the center of it, the burning center of it, is each within us. You know, it's not something that, you know, we're not like the moon, when the only thing we shine up. The only reason we shine is because of other people, you know, pushing out into us. You know, so we're a star, not moon people. And yeah, anything else to say on that?
No, let's move on. I'm sure there'd be lots more to say about that, but I'll come back to that one. One for you, Frank.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you this one that says, I am 50 plus and looking for a partner. What are the 3 or 4 things I should be aware of as I search for a man who is interested in a long-term relationship? And I'm going to just ask you as a little appendix to that, whether or not you think it actually might be different for someone who's 50 plus as opposed to somebody who might be 20 plus.
That's the fun thing. That was actually my very first response to you, is that it's the exact same thing as everyone else. It's, you know, it really is the exact same. So, all right, three, four things that maybe can help me out. Is the first thing straight off the bat is remembering exactly what me and Lidy have already been talking about. It is really about remembering that this is your own life and that's their life as well. It's not you're merging into one or anything like that. That's not how it works. You know, it is you're each doing your own thing. So number one, more than anything else, live your own life. You're 50 plus, awesome. You know, you have so much behind you. You can keep on moving forward. You have such a unique view on the world that so many other people don't. And at the same time, you're also part of this exclusive club, as you've just said, 50 plus, where you see the world where only a certain group of other people actually see it as well. And you know, that is actually part of it as well. So it's not about coming from this place, or you know, we so often do these things with our insecurities and sort of make that our factor and everything like that. But in actual fact, that's actually what makes us defined. You know, it's really something that's like, yeah, you know what, cool, I'm 50 plus. I have this unique view of the world that, you know, I think very few people share. And because we meet people on our own level, isn't that such an amazing thing that you're actually going to get people that, because you're very unique, you're going to get people that are also unique come to you. So yeah, first up, more than anything, is go for yourself. Choose for yourself. Yeah.
I have a little adage that often it'll be the differences that will attract us to each other, but in actual fact, it may be the similarities that keep us there. So I think from that is that in my travels, whoever that person might be, everybody out there, whatever the age they are, has something interesting and wonderful to bring to a relationship. I think if you are open to that and to the differences, and open to learning from that person, you know, what skills or qualities may not yet be fully developed within yourself, because invariably that's what it's about. Exactly. That as you open yourself to that and you open yourself to the learning from that other person, then anything's possible, and everybody has something wonderful to offer. You know, their life's experiences, their own learnings. And I think if two people come together, even though they might come from totally different places, from totally different cultures, even from different age groups, or indeed from the same or separate sexes, different sexes, same sexes,
love wins.
Separate sexes is all good. You know, wherever you come from, if you both open yourself and embrace the learning and the possibilities that other person brings to the relationship, and you acquire those, you do find yourself I call it not 1 + 1 = 2, or even 1 plus 1, well, even more, not even 1 + 1 = 1, because that was certainly an old-fashioned notion that two halves make a whole somehow. But I talk about it in terms of 1 + 1 = 11, because, you know, suddenly you have an exponential set of possibilities of what you can both do together as a team, as two people working together. A little bit like us. I mean, either one of us separately, we've got sort of half the answers, but put us both together and we're just spinning off on each other here, which is brilliant. So yeah, often it will be the differences that will bring us together, but it'll be the similarities that will keep us there, and we need to be open to what it is we can learn from each other.
That's it. And I think that's such an important point. I used to say that exact same thing, but I said 1 + 1 = 3, and the idea that, you know, we actually create something between us. You know, the purpose of any relationship is to give birth to something, whether that be a child, whether that be a business, or, you know, something that's actually created between the two people, even if it's just a life. It's, you know, but, you know, 1 + 1 = 11, you know, makes so much more sense, because, you know, it is so exponential. It is something. And, you know, and that said as well, and just touching on what Lidy said, you know, each of us, you know, by ourselves, you know, I don't think it's that we actually have half the answer. I think we do have so much of the answers. I don't want to say we have all the answers. but you know, by no means are Lydia and I incapable on our own. You know, and that's not the point. You know, it's not that you need you go into a relationship because you need one.
Sure.
It's because you want to be in one. You know, as I said, me and Liddy, we're completely more than capable. You know, all by ourselves. But you know, put us together, and you know, then something amazing happens as well. You know, it goes off to another level. So,
and it's much more fun.
Yeah, so much more fun.
Absolutely. And as an extension from that, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about my book a bit later on, but in my book I actually tell a story about the power of sled dogs in Alaska. And they did some research to determine, you know, the additional power that each sled dog presents to the team. And what they found there too was one sled dog could perhaps pull 50 Ks, but 2 sled dogs could pull 150 Ks. Yeah. 3 sled dogs could pull 300 Ks. So it's like every sled dog that got added to the team, suddenly their capacity to pull suddenly exponentially increased. And I think that for us as social beings, as you said, you know, we don't have to be in a relationship, but when we can come together in a relationship and pool our resources and pool our capacity, we can move mountains. We can do all sorts of things. It's the reason
we don't choose to live all by ourselves. It's the reason we don't choose to live all by ourselves in, you know, little caves and everything like that. You know, the sum of, what's that saying? The sum of who we are together is greater than the sum of our wholes. Some of our parts.
Some of the parts. Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's why I say 1 + 1 = 11.
Exactly.
Because 2 parts together can be a lot more than the sum of their parts.
And that ties in perfectly. You know, the funny thing is that we can talk about relationships, obviously intimate relationships, you know, is what we're talking about. But this applies so much in terms of, you know, teams and businesses and everything like that. It's all just relationships and how we're relating to each other. And it's because, you know, we do that. It's because we know, you know, if we didn't learn how to relate to each other on the most simple level, our species would have died off long ago.
Absolutely. And we are basically social animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're pack animals, really. And we do much better in a pack than solo. So, you know.
We can go solo, of course, but.
Oh, we can. Absolutely, we can. But the question here was, you know, what do I need to be aware of as I search for the man who is interested in a long-term relationship? You know, maybe we also need to be looking for the capacity of that person to be social, to be able to give, to be able to take, to be able to share, not somebody who actually wants to just be by themselves and not connect with another human being at any level, because that's not a relationship. That's a person living on their own. And as you said, that can be fine. But if you want to have a relationship with somebody like that, it's going to be very hard work to break into that center.
And maybe as a note for someone who's outside the, let's say, typical age range for, you know, acquiring a long-term relationship, you know, that actually should be a point. If they are 50 plus and single and obviously looking for a long-term relationship, then, you know, it's make sure that that is actually what they do want. Don't make sure that, you know, they're not just a 50-year-old man who obviously, you know, wants to be all by themselves. You know,
absolutely.
If that is the case, then, you know, leave him be, wish him well on his way, and, you know, he's not the guy for you. But make sure that is indeed what he wants. But at the same time, he also does have his own life. So there's that delicate balance between of, you know, are you your own person, but also do you actually want a relationship, sort of thing. You know, too much to one and they become a clingy partner. Too much of the other and, you know, as you said, they're just a person relationship and, you know, you really don't have a partner. It's just, you know, for some other reason that they're in it, which, you know, we could write a book on.
Absolutely. And the question here too is also about long-term relationships. So from that perspective, give your relationship time. You know, don't expect that from day one it's going to be happy ever after. There's a little bit of work to do at the very beginning as you get to familiarise yourself with each other, as you get to know each other, to find out what each other's likes are, to find out what each other's lifestyle wants are, to see whether or not there is a compatibility there. Because, you know, besides the love and the rush of stars and all the beautiful things that go with it, there's also got to be a compatibility.
So much. And you see that so often. It's they're forcing it, trying to be something that it's actually currently not, or trying to actually stop the natural change of things. That's the cause of most of our problems. 99% of all our problems, coming up is because we're trying to force it, because we're not willing to accept it. You might see someone wanting to be in a relationship, or wanting to be married because for whatever reason that's where they're attaching themselves to. That's what they want for themselves. But if that's something that it's how should I say it's sorry, I'm just reading this question here.
Yeah.
If a question has been submitted during the week and you will need to submit it again. It has since changed. The layout has since changed, and we're using a bit of a different system here. So please, please, please. Hi, Sonia. I'm just sending you a message as well. Sonia's one of my clients.
Okay. Hi, Sonia. Nice to meet you.
And just saying this here. So please submit your question again. We will see it in just a moment if you do. So that was, I know you sent that about 20 minutes ago, but and I'm just getting to it now. But yeah, please do, and we'll get to it if we can. Thank you. What was I saying?
We were talking about, you're asking me. I'm on the other side of 50. We're talking about the things to be aware of as you search for somebody. I can't remember what you were talking about. You're going to have to start again.
Yeah, it was really.
So we were talking about compatibility and.
Yeah, forcing it.
Exactly.
That's right. So yeah, it really is about letting that happen, accepting that happen. So if you are someone who wants to be in marriage because you grow up and you wanted to be in marriage, and that's something a goal that you're looking forward to. If you're actually looking towards that, you may really want to get married because it's going to mean something really, really important or something along those lines. And it's something that you want to look forward to because that's going to be an identity statement, or it's going to be sort of that destination that you can finally reach. But let it happen in its own time. By trying to force it and by going, why hasn't he proposed yet, or why hasn't he said I love you yet? It gets to the point where you are forcing that relationship into something that it's not. So it is really about accepting it and letting it happen in its own due time.
Absolutely. I'm just flipping down in some of these questions, and I don't know who's going to be asking who in the next one, but I'm seeing a couple of really long ones, and I'm thinking maybe we will put those aside and actually respond to those in more detail, because they're quite convoluted and there's a lot of information in them. So our apologies to anybody that has submitted a fairly long question and finding it's not going to be addressed here, because I think they deserve a lot more time than just a few minutes that we can give them. And
that said, obviously, because they are very personal to your case as well, what I think will be best as well is we're obviously going to cover a lot of the themes in there, and no doubt, I'm sure what we're saying will be of value to everyone here, including those people. We obviously just won't be able to get to the nitty-gritty of it for you tonight. Just so we want to make sure that we keep everyone here.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you going to ask me a question, or is it me to ask you a question?
I think it's my question.
Okay.
I think so. I'll jump on it anyways.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm looking at the questions here, and I'm saying, what does it mean when my partner has an affair? Obviously we've talked, when we talk about rebuilding trust and everything like that. Do you want to touch on that just a bit more
I'll
just
basically rephrase what I've said earlier, because I think I just mentioned, I saw a couple just the other day who had come in, and there had been an affair, and he had been caught out, and trust was really out the window at that point in time, and she was sort of finding it really difficult to not want to go and dig in his phone and dig in his email address, emails and things like that, and find more grit, so to speak. They had to come to a point to decide, where are they? Are they going forward, or are they going back? And in order for them to continue to develop their relationship, they really did need to focus forward. So obviously the past is important, but only insofar as it teaches us the lessons that we need in order to be able to go forward. So when I was addressing that a little earlier, and I'll just rephrase it, What does it mean when my partner has an affair? It means that something's not right in your relationship, basically. And that is not to exonerate them from the responsibility that they must hold for that, and their need to find forgiveness for themselves, to ask you for forgiveness as well, and for you hopefully to find forgiveness for that person as well. But as I said before, also being aware that it takes two to tango. And if you are in a situation where your partner is having an affair, then you actually still also need to take a look at yourself in terms of your own responsibility, and what you may have contributed to that. Now, who knows what that might have been? It may be that you nagged the poor bugger every day of the week, or it may be that you expected much more from him than he was able to.
Both examples of forcing it.
Absolutely, both examples of forcing it. Or it might be that, you know, she was too busy with her girlfriends and too busy going out and having coffees in the morning without sort of taking time to be with you. You know, there's lots and lots and lots of reasons, but I think when two people come together in my counselling room and there's been an infidelity, I start to look at what's behind that for both of them, because it's not about, you know, who that person saw or where they were or who they were with or what was going on, because, you know, often we talk about affairs as being an infidelity, but affairs can be, you know, affairs of another nature. Like sometimes people have an affair with their workplaces, or indeed their work. Sometimes people have an affair with the gym, and spending a lot of time with the gym. Sometimes people have an affair with food, and all of those things are just simply distractors from what might be going on in the relationship, or indeed distractors from allowing somebody to be fully in the relationship.
And that's it. You can get so caught up in all this stuff. It's like, cool, you know, this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason. You know, at the end of the day, we are going to have, you know, different parts of our life. That's obviously just the nature. You know, as we said, it's not our whole life, but it is just a part of our life. But it is coming to that place, you know, where you realize that, you know, it does mean that something's off so freaking much, you know. It's and it's about taking responsibility, and I say that in not taking responsibility for the actual act itself, not by any means. And this ties in with you know, if there's a case of abuse as well. You know, I talked about this on the resolving issues webinar that I did, and you know, it's not about taking responsibility for the act or making that in itself acceptable, not by any means whatsoever. But it's about taking responsibility for your own change. And realizing that, cool, you know what, it does take two to tango. I tried once, you know, try and prove everyone wrong. Just couldn't do it. I went in for the dip and, you know, it was all messy from there.
And the thing that will cruel that relationship probably more than anything, apart from, you know, not finding trust again, even not finding forgiveness, is the need to want to punish the other person. And if you get caught up on that merry-go-round, your relationship is as good as dead. You need to really put the affair into its context. It's only a part of what happened in this relationship. You need to focus on all the other aspects of this relationship to rebuild that relationship, to find your way forward again. Not be caught up in punishment and wanting to have this other person pay forever and ever for what they've done.
And tying in with that as well, there's such a, you know, when you are the victim, whether we're talking about infidelity here or an affair, and you're on the other side of it, or even abuse as well, there is that tendency for that person on the receiving end to, you know, have a lot of shame and guilt around that. You know, and it is that obviously that way, that one of those ways that we do cope with it. At the same time, that can obviously lead into wanting to punish the other person. You know, it can lead into actually wanting to punish yourself even worse as well. And, you know, as Lidy just said, it is, you know, if you do get caught in that merry-go-round, you're going to be stuck on it. You know, it's a long, long ride.
It's definitely a long ride. And it really does come back to, you know, still being okay with yourself. That whatever it is that your partner may have done, you can still be okay with you. Learn your lessons, get back on the horse and move on.
And simple recognition that this is also gonna pass. You know, it's we're going to go through it, and things are going to be tough at first and everything along those lines. But we get to the point where should I say, we're going to feel shit sometimes. Challenge is just going to be a part of it. But remember that even if this is really hard for you right now, it is going to pass. It is one of those things. But that said, allow yourself that time to feel shit. It is a natural part of the process. It's the forcing it and trying to actually fight that natural change, which is actually going to set you back even further. So
and grief comes into that too, just from what you're saying, because you do need to give yourself time to heal. You need to give yourself time to find forgiveness for yourself and for the other, and you need to give yourself some time to grieve whatever you had and say goodbye to it. With the belief too, and this is what I say to my clients, hold on to the belief that as you grieve and say goodbye to whatever it was that you guys had between you, embrace the possibilities that the affair has actually brought up for you, and take your learnings and make your relationship something better than it has ever been before. Don't think that just because there's been an affair that it's got to be the end of the relationship.
Yeah, and even if it is the end of a relationship, it's an affair or end of a relationship, or whatever the case may be, it's a defining moment. If you have come away from that, if the breakup has been messy, for example, then those things exactly do come into it. Allow yourself to actually grieve. This person was a huge part of your life. Doesn't matter whether they're a part of your life for 6 months or 6 years. It honestly doesn't. Allow yourself that time to grieve. Don't fight that. Emotions are just a natural part of the process. And then you can actually come from a stronger place. It's gonna feel crappy when you go through it, but just allow yourself to do that. That's part of being able to actually face it, and that's part of living.
Totally.
You do that and allow yourself that time, and then you can actually move on in a much, much better place, rather than holding on and bringing all this stuff with you.
Totally. I'm looking at the clock, Frank, so let me throw another question at you. I love this one. My partner has left me. How can I get him back? There's a challenge for you. I like it.
We could also write another book on this.
Yep. I think there's been a few written.
I think there has.
So how can I get him back?
So again, and this as well, it's come with a very common thing, throughout the whole time as well. It really has to come back to self. If you're coming from this place of my partner left me and I really, really need him back, it's coming from this place of desperation and neediness. It's coming from a place of where you don't feel whole, you don't feel happy with yourself, and you're wanting that relationship back in order to fix that, I guess. And it's really a case of whether or not it actually will, and whether or not I can give you a guaranteed strategy to actually get him back. I don't think I can. It really has to come from, it's about recognizing that it has to start with self. And recognizing that is a two-way street. So he has to also make the choice to come back as well. And through the time, you both are going to be changing. So in order to get that attraction back, in order for him to want you back, again, do all the stuff I've already said. Feel so absolutely awesome in yourself. Feel absolutely amazing in the way you are. Feel so happy in yourself. He's so freaking attractive, and he may want you. He will be attracted to you again. That I can guarantee, because it is the most attractive thing. But in doing so, you've obviously changed so much since the relationship has just happened. So whether or not you will actually want him back, or the relationship would ever actually be the same after that, I very much doubt it. What do you reckon?
I think so. I have a little strategy. It's called the Harry Met Sally strategy, and I don't know how many of you have watched the movie. It's been around for an awful long time. However, the Harry Met Sally strategy is this: that you be the absolute best you can be. So anybody who even passes you by in the street wants what you're having. It's like, what are you on? And if you are on life, if you are on living, and if you are on fun and laughter and joy, then how could anybody not want to be with you?
And I call that, it's to the point where you have so much love for yourself that, how should I say, it implodes from within.
Absolutely.
It's not an explosion. It doesn't push out or anything like that. It's this massive event inside of you that is constantly going on. It's not like a, you know, over and done, one and done.
Yeah.
It is constant, and it closes the gap between you and I. It pulls people towards you. You know, it doesn't push people away in an explosion. It pulls them towards you with such an amazing, amazing force.
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, you meet people, you know, in the streets, you meet people in shopping centres, you meet people, you know, bringing the mail to you on an office morning. People who are really content in their lives, and I agree with you, they are living it internally, but there's a lovely aura that sits around them.
You want to be around them.
So attractive, absolutely, that you so much want to be near. So whoever it is that wrote that question, the simple answer really is, and it can't be any more complicated than it is, but it is still only simple. Be really in a nice place for yourself. Live your life and model what it is that you would want your life to be at its absolute best, and you're going to be absolutely irresistible.
Yeah. And that ties back in with, you know, what to do, you know, to, I've just got a complete mind blank. You know, in what to do, you know, when you're actually, you know, trying to actually do that, it really has to come from this place of, you know, if you're trying to attract any single person whatsoever, and I'm just thinking, so looking at the above question, and, you know, how can I maintain a long distance relationship as well? It ties in so much with this, and with so many freaking other questions as well here as well. It's so much about having that within self as well. You know, when you can see that, it's just, you see these people around and you have this such love life. You see things an amazing way because, you know, you see the world as we are. You see the world as you are. You know, you come from this place where there is that much love for what's inside. Such an amazing, amazing thing. You know, when you're really enjoying it, it doesn't matter whether the fact you're actually enjoying it just for the sake of enjoying it. It is such an amazing, amazing thing. And, you know, that ties back in so perfectly with what we're talking about of, you know, things need to be perfect before you can actually love yourself.
Absolutely.
If for those people that do love themselves and that are so content, they're not content because it's perfect. They're content because, well, they're content.
And that just leads into a question that someone's put on fairly recently, which is that, why do partners nag so much? Is it because of lack of communication? No, it's because they're not happy in themselves. Because if they're happy in themselves, then they don't need to nag anybody, because they will appreciate and accept people for who they are. Then they don't need to nag. Nagging comes from unhappy people to start with.
I'm just looking through the rest of these questions as well. It really comes back so much to really that internal relationship. It so freaking much is that, you know, it's, how should I say, it's so much about that. You know, almost every single problem at one level or other comes from that externalization. It comes from putting it outside yourself. It comes from trying to force it a certain way in order to fill a gap within yourself or something along those lines. It really, really needs to come back to self.
From the model of therapy that I work from, it's called TA, or transactional analysis. There's a piece of theory that talks about winners and non-winners and victims. I call them survivors and thrivers. The survivors are the unhappy people in the world, the people who are not okay with themselves and therefore can't be okay with anybody else. The thrivers, the winners of the world, are the people who really are content with themselves, are content in their relationships. They don't take rubbish or garbage from other people either. They're assertive, they're caring, but they're also very aware of who they are and what they represent and how they take care of themselves and how they take care of each other. So, you know, every one of these questions, it's interesting, isn't it, that this has become a theme through answering these questions. But you're spot on, Frank. It's so true that we've got to start with ourselves. We've got to know ourselves. We've got to be okay with ourselves. We've got to appreciate ourselves, provide and demand only the best of ourselves for ourselves. And then we will do that in our relationships.
Yeah, I think it comes down to one really idea. The quality of life, quality of relationship is realizing that life is going to have issues, and it's whether or not you let that stop you or whether or not you don't let it stop you is the defining factor. You know, and there is so much, you know, it's always going to come back down to this over and over and over again. And, you know, so I'm looking at the rest of the questions, and, you know, I'm also looking at the time as well and seeing that we've got 5 minutes left. So that is going to have to be our last one. But yeah, I'm looking at the rest, and, you know, think of how this can apply for yourself. Think of, you know, what this is going to do. And when you actually do look for yourself, when you actually do come from a place of, you know, really, really self-love at the end of the day, or whatever other label you want to put on top of it, what impact that can actually have in your relationship. You know, it comes down to this so freaking much. So, you know, we do need to move on, Lidy. We could talk.
We could spend another hour. This is just
we
brilliant.
could talk about this.
And the questions
going.
continue to come in, and it's just fantastic.
This is absolutely brilliant. It's so awesome to see, and it really is cool. So we're very sorry if we didn't get to your question. We do need to move on. Let us know what's been your biggest insight so far. What's been your biggest takeaway? Type it into the box and let us know what you've loved so far. And thank you. And we understand if you guys need to go, please feel free to. But if you guys are sticking around, then we do want to have a chat to you about what's up and coming. The very, very first thing is I want to talk to you about your book.
Oh, my book. My baby. All my babies grew up and left home, but my book, Love, Lies and the Games Couples Play, has become very much my legacy, I guess. It really represents probably just about everything I've learned in the last 30-odd years that I've been in practice and in relationship and raising kids. It represents a lot of the theories that I live my life by, that I practice by in my counselling arena. It represents, or actually you'll find in there a lot of my story. Nice. So there's some reference to my own growing up and what I learned from my parents, and how, as I became an adult myself, how I had to relook at that, as we all do, and decide whether or not what I had learned as a child, particularly about love and relationships, whether or not it was still valid, and how much of it I still did want to live my life by, and how much of it actually needed to be changed. And there's a few things on both sides of that fence. So Love, Lies and the Games Couples Play is really, as it says, it's about love. It's about how to find love in relationships. There's lots of skills in the book that teach you how to be in relationship. It goes through that whole notion of learning about yourself and getting to love yourself first, and then getting to know each other as well. You'll also find in the book lots of exercises. So as we go through each chapter and each topic, I also give everyone an exercise to do as well, so that they can actually go on their own journey. It's very much a journey as you go through.
An absolutely amazing book, because you break down every single part of the relationship as well.
Yes.
I'm still in the middle of reading it at the moment. I absolutely love it. And it's really quite amazing. So just with a short description of what you've said, and, you know, you're saying, you know, it's a culmination of what you've experienced for the last 30 years. And I love how that came to be the title out of it. And, you know, that's obviously, you know, it's got to give you a decent idea of, you know, what's in there as well, you know. It's an awesome title. I love the title. And
I love the cover.
And it is so amazing, you know, there is all the games that, you know, we play because those insecurities and everything like that. There are the lies that come along with those as well. Totally. And there's also, you know, but there's also what it's all about, which is obviously the love, and, you know, how so much can freaking come with that. We could also spend another hour talking about this.
Well, as I said, there's 30 years of my life history and my life's learning in that book. And looking at the psychology of relationships, and looking at the psychology of individuals. So it really comes back to that, know yourself, know the other, know what love is.
It's knowing me, knowing you. knowing you know me.
Definitely knowing me, knowing you.
And yeah, so here's the links. So it's loveliesandgames.com/the book for the actual book itself. That will take you to Lidy's website where you can read a couple of reviews, learn a bit more about the book, and then the link to Amazon where you can actually purchase that. You can also get it on Fishpond and Booktopia, and I'm sure a bunch of other stores as well. And there's also a free abridged ebook version, so it is a bit shorter, but still get amazing amounts of value in it, just absolutely ridiculous. So if you're doing that, then again, loveliesandgames.com/free-e-book, and those will take you to the link. I'll put those up again in a second. Yeah, so I strongly suggest you guys, I really, really want to make sure that you guys get this. Absolutely freaking cool. I actually want to have a chat with the rest of you, and I was just talking to Lidy about this before, and that's my choosing confidence call. So I just run a free 30-minute call with people who are wanting to do so. And we really talk about, that choice that, choosing for yourself, or more to the point, not choosing for yourself has an impact. So it really comes back to whether or not you're just, quote unquote, going with the flow, or you're actually creating your own flow. You're actually choosing for yourself, where it does begin within self. It is so much about, taking that time for yourself, choosing for yourself, really, hitting those challenges head on, and recognizing that, it's an unfamiliar journey ahead. That's just the way it goes. So it's really about, setting yourself up to, to go kick some ass.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful gift that you're offering everybody.
Thank you.
And I hope that everybody takes advantage of that. I'm presuming also that if anybody's written a question tonight, or still has a question in their own mind about relationships, or indeed about themselves, then that might be a time that they could also raise that with you.
Absolutely. More than happy to. So the link there is relationshipsrevealed.com.au/choosing-confidence. And you'll see that page there, and all you need to do is type in your name, your email, your phone, and then select a time and date that works for you. So then we can have our chat. I'm looking forward to connecting with some of you, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, before we do wrap up, I want to mention two more things, and that is that both Lidy and I, we both have a couple of upcoming events. Lidy, you're first. You've got your meetup, which you run every month, which is actually where we first met. This is our story.
Oh, this is our story, isn't that nice? Yeah, we did meet actually not that long ago, but it feels like we've known each other forever.
I think it's only been a month or two.
It's only been a month or so.
Yeah, wow.
It has been, yeah. I think we've known each other in another time. Yeah. So actually, some of you, I think, on this call tonight are actually coming to us from Meetup. And for anybody who's not aware of it, Meetup is a place, MEETUP, is a place where you can join up and link yourself with all sorts of interesting groups on all sorts of topics all over Sydney,
the world.
all over the world even, absolutely. So I'm running my regular meetups now. I've been doing them for the last nearly a year. At the moment, I'm running them from Club Redfern in town because it's sort of fairly central. And my next meetup, which is coming up on the 14th of July, 2015, starting at 7 p.m. at Club Redfern, is going to be on the topic of relationship ready and being relationship ready.
Awesome.
So talking a little bit more then about ourselves and who we are as individuals, and being the best we can be, so we can be in the best relationship that we can be in. So focusing on that.
By the way, Lidy's meetup group is called New Rules of Relationships.
That's the one.
So go and Google that in Meetup, and you'll find Lidy's group, especially if you're here in Sydney, and even if you're not, she absolutely awesome. You do post these webinars up on there as well whenever we do work together. Hoping to do it more in the future as well. So keep in contact with there, and whether you're in Sydney or not, absolutely awesome group to be a part of. So yeah, jump on that, and that is again on Tuesday the 14th of July. And
you're doing another webinar.
Yes, I am. So this is very much on something that I do monthly to really introduce people and to really get them introduced into this idea. And it's on the 9 actions for lasting relationships. And you've watched one of the courses because you couldn't join me live on one of them. And it really is about this 9-step model. It's really about this 9-step model that really outlays the whole path of the relationship, all the stages of the relationship. It's really split into, coming from this place of awareness, and then also recognizing that there are these parts of ourselves. And it is that idea of 1 + 1 = 11, in the sense, idea that, these 2 parts, even though they're whole completely by themselves, once they come together, you go to a completely new level.
Totally.
And it's that within yourself, and then it's also to the point where it goes beyond yourself as well. There's a focus where you swing between this focus of me and then this focus between, on others as well. And it's really, I give you a brief overview. Again, we could run several webinars on this. And so I give you a brief overview of that and some actions, what you can do it. Do try and make this as simple as possible. That is on Wednesday, the 15th of July at 7 o'clock. So straight after, night after yours, Lidy. And to get there, all you need to do is go to the Relationships Revealed website. Is right on the homepage. So that's all you need to do. And again, those links for Lidy's book and my free 30-minute chat is down there at the bottom for you guys.
Just before you close up, can I just make one more comment? Yeah. I have a wonderful fan in my son who's been my fan for 30 years. And I just want to give you a hi, Tim, and to your beautiful fiancée, Steph. I really appreciate you guys being here tonight, and I really appreciate your lovely words of recognition of what we're doing here tonight. So there was a compliment there for you, Frank.
Thank you so much, Tim and Steph. Sure, I'll meet you someday.
Love you both. Take care.
See you later. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Lidy, for joining me on. It's such an absolute pleasure. It has been so much fun.
Oh, thank you, Frank. This has been just brilliant. I really, really enjoyed this last hour. It's just gone so quickly.
Oh, too quickly, in fact. We will be sending the link around to the recording, and we will also include all these links. So I think I'm sending that around tomorrow evening / afternoon. So any links that you want to give them, I'll also include the link to your meetup group as well, which would be awesome, and the link to your book, and everything that we've mentioned here. Again, before you guys do leave, we'd love it if you send us a quick message on, what you've thought of this, and your biggest insights from what the webinar were and everything like that. Would love to hear more about it. In the meantime, we could sit here chatting to them for hours, and I kind of want to be honest. But we do have to wrap it up. We're already running over.
But we will be back.
Yes, we definitely will be back. Whether it's another Q&A webinar, or whether or not it's on a particular topic, we'll soon see. So we'll keep the line of discussion open, and we'll make sure that you guys get a chance to tell us what you do want or what you found. We'll look more closely at these questions, and particularly some of the ones that we missed as well, and see if we could find something that would really hit home for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a great,
my absolute pleasure.
Great session, and we definitely will have to come back and do this again.
Yes. All right, we're going to sign off. Thank you very much.
Bye.